if your content is ultimately not resonating with people, you're not going to succeed on Instagram. Being comfortable in front of the camera, creating engaging content, being willing to try new things and see what resonates. But ultimately, it comes down to the content. I have been of the group that says, oh, the algorithm hates me. And I followed somebody and I once saw them say, before you blame the algorithm when your content isn't performing well, are you sure that you're not making crappy content?
Welcome back to Med Creator 101. I'm Mimi Banks, founder of MB Social, and I'm here with my co-host, Dr. Dustin Fortella, board-certified dermatologist and dermfluencer with over 4 million followers.
As always, happy to be here.
Always good to see you, and always good to chat all things Medfluencer and learn more about how we can help Medfluencers develop their social presence and grow on social media. But first, we're going to talk about all things Dustin.
My favorite thing to talk about.
Driver or passenger?
Definitely driver. I like having the control.
Ebook or physical book?
Definitely a physical book, but I will admit that most of my reading now is audiobook.
I would say same. I used to be a big reader. Now it's audiobooks all the way. Dressed up or dressed down?
I would have said dress down until I got suits that fit me properly, and now I do like to dress up.
I'm just realizing what's on your sweatshirt right now.
Yeah, this is definitely a dress down look, but that's my logo.
I love it. I just realized that it was there. Binge watch or go to sleep early?
Oh, I must admit that I binge watch more than I should.
What's the latest show you watched?
The latest show that I've been watching is Peaky Blinders. I know that I'm a little bit behind on it, but I'm through like 3 seasons. It's been a couple months since I picked up another episode because things just get busy, but Peaky Blinders most recently.
People really like that one. I think I tried to watch it and couldn't get through it.
Yeah. So I started Severance and it just hasn't pulled me in yet.
I also tried to watch it, that and Succession. I know that that's the wrong thing to say. People love Succession. I've started it so many times. I need to go back and try again.
Favorite of all time, Breaking Bad, though.
Breaking Bad is a good one. I also just watched Lioness. Did you watch that one?
No, I've never seen that one.
Speaking of binge watching, a lot of people binge watch your content and they binge social media at a crazy rate. In 2025, we started with a TikTok ban. People were freaking out. And now we're coming back to Instagram. Instagram is trying to absorb, I think, a lot of the features of TikTok. And they're doing a lot to educate in so many ways with Adam Mosseri constantly posting, constantly educating, and with all of the different tactics that they can to bring people back to Instagram. So let's start here. So we haven't really even addressed the TikTok ban or what happened for that hot 24 hours where everybody freaked out. But TikTok aside, do you think there are any major platform updates that medical professionals, healthcare professionals should be aware of?
Well, I may not be familiar with all of them, but there's a couple of things that I do think medical professionals should be aware of. We've talked about having a presence on all of the platforms. Even if you're just starting on one, if you're just starting on TikTok, you're just starting on Instagram, you should go secure your handle on all of the platforms. And on YouTube, uniquely, you can have a badge that says you are a verified health professional in the United States. And I would encourage anybody, once you get your YouTube channel, to go ahead and submit the paperwork for that. It's pretty easy. You'll have to upload a copy of your medical license. But if you're going to start posting health content on YouTube, even if you're not doing it right away, getting that badge on your page will help to grow trust in your brand specifically. I do think that on the other pages, you should do what you can to get verified. Now, a lot of the platforms now, you're just essentially going to pay for verification, like Meta Verified on Facebook and Instagram. But I do think that that's a worthwhile thing. Having that blue check mark, I think fosters a little more trust and it will help protect your account from impersonators. It's a little harder to get verified on TikTok. The process has changed over time. But if you can get your name in some articles, you can get verified on TikTok and all of that will help. But to my knowledge, none of the other platforms have a verified medical professional badge that they're willing to give you the way that YouTube does.
I didn't even know that that was a thing. I know Jenny Liu was telling me about an app in China, how you can get verified, but you have to be a provider in China in order to get that verification. But that's the first I've ever heard of it.
Well, she has the advantage of speaking Mandarin as well, so.
Right, exactly. But she doesn't have the badge because she doesn't have the credentials there. But she has a different title, I think, on that app. And speaking of the apps, I think it's interesting about the evolution of content and the kinds of content that you're sharing. And has it changed? Has it evolved, at least in the last year?
There's always changes, and I think people should feel free to try lots of different types of content. Just because you see an influencer or somebody doing one thing, or you have a guru posting on social media that these are the hacks that are going to make you go viral, doesn't mean that it's going to be successful for you. But by and large, I think there is a trend towards more authentic, organic content that is less highly produced, so to speak, where you don't have so much fancy editing, where it's fairly easy to consume, and overall it's easier to produce if you're doing your own video editing. And that authenticity, I think, fosters a more personal touch between the viewer and the creator.
There's something about just talking to camera, recording it yourself versus having someone do a professional setup and film it that becomes one step removed from your audience. What do you think about kinds of content, short form versus long form?
I think short form is going to continue to dominate. There's always going to be a place for long form on YouTube. People are spending more and more time on YouTube, particularly on smart TVs. People are making that their evening entertainment by putting on YouTube videos on their smart TV. And the traffic on long form YouTube on smart TV devices has gone up tremendously. But everybody has a cell phone now. Everybody has the apps on their phone. And the consumption of short form video content has dominated the last 4 years, I would say, and it's continuing to dominate. Every platform is trying to mimic what TikTok started, and we're going to continue to see that grow.
And now we're seeing lives make a comeback on TikTok. What's interesting is very popular in 2020. Everybody was doing a live. There was constantly a live. People are advertising, featuring lives, and that's how we met during a live. Now, TikTok has an aspect of live, kind of QVC style of selling and shopping.
Yeah, almost every time that I'm scrolling on TikTok and I see somebody live that, it'll pop up, they're selling something. They've really pushed TikTok Shop. And I think this speaks to the way that platforms like to work. They tend to reward people who use the features that they make available. And TikTok is definitely interested in making money, and they want the revenue that comes from TikTok Shop. So when people go live and they include a link to something in TikTok Shop and they're talking about the product, those seem to get pushed out more than somebody who's just talking to the camera about whatever.
Do you think that Medfluencers should consider doing lives?
I do think lives can be valuable in some circumstances, but I look at this as a good use of my time. And, I don't really know, because I'd rather batch record my content rather than sit down and do a live where it's just, this is all you get is you get the live. Now you can repost that, but I don't find them to be a good use of my time. And I don't know that it's always a good look for a medical professional to go live and just be pitching a product QVC style. And so I haven't generally encouraged a lot of people to do lives. But if you have a good community and you're going live and talking to them and answering their questions, I think that's okay to do. I think you should keep it to a reasonable time frame because your time is valuable, and have it a predictable time that you go live every week or twice a month, whatever it is. And when the time is up, you're going to say goodbye and go, and you keep people wanting more. But I don't think that if you're just trying to grow and you have 200 followers, that going live and talking to them for 30 minutes is necessarily a good use of your time as a medical professional.
I agree. It's interesting. Even on Instagram, when I see lives now, I kind of scroll right by them. You see them, they come up by your stories. And it used to be every single person was live. Now it's one or two, whoever you're following. So that trend on Instagram, I think, died a long time ago.
Yeah, the thing that I'm trying with lives that I'm going to be doing a little bit more of is, if anybody saw the Super Bowl commercials, these Meta AI glasses that can record content. So I picked up those a few weeks ago before the Super Bowl, actually. And you can live stream from your glasses directly to Instagram or to Facebook. So what the plan is that when I'm able to, obviously, you can't just go in and film a patient. But if I'm doing a laser procedure or Botox in a patient that lets me, I think that those kinds of things are interesting for people to see a live stream of a laser procedure. I have a friend who goes live all the time, and he does scalp micropigmentation for people with hair loss to help cover up the appearance of a balding scalp. And his lives do really well because people find it very satisfying to see him go in and tattoo the scalp in a very professional way. So I think that if you're showing a particular skill, there could be some value in that. But I don't know that there's a lot of value in just sitting down and talking to the camera unless you're doing it in a relatively structured way.
That's an innovative approach. Before it was a little bit more Q&A format where you and I would be doing this essentially, but doing it live.
Yeah. And people like to plan out when they're going to watch or consume content. And if they have a few minutes at their lunch break and they want to get on and scroll Instagram, I think it's a pretty hard sell that they're going to see somebody live and want to spend their 30-minute lunch break watching a live.
Oh, totally. I agree. And what do you think about carousels?
I still think carousels are valuable. So Instagram did announce last year that they were going to kind of bring those back up in the algorithm and reward people more for them. We have on my team started to post more carousels and we've seen good engagement come from those. And I think it's a good way to break up your content. And it's fairly easy. If you're making a lot of video content, you can easily take that educational material and put it into a carousel of a half a dozen slides where people can scroll through and see that same information. And it may be they can consume that in an easier way if they can't listen to audio at the same time.
And how important are stories?
Stories are not terribly important, in my opinion. Stories are a good way to connect with your existing audience, but you're not going to be getting a lot of new followers from your stories. That is not the purpose of stories. And if you're posting stories all the time, you'll probably notice that your story views go down and down. Story views are going to be best when you put up a couple that are really good quality. And I'm not talking production quality, but then you let them expire and you maybe don't post for a day. And then it'll pop it back up on people's pages. But it's a good way to kind of remind your audience what you're doing. It's a good way to show a more authentic side of you, maybe more behind the scenes type of content. But if your stories are just reposts of your reels or they're just advertising, you're really, I don't think, going to see a lot of yield from that.
No, and stories give you a great barometer of your engaged audience because you can see really quickly how many people have seen your stories. And also by how many people reply. Are people replying, agreeing? Are people asking questions? Are they commenting or are they skipping?
Stories are a good way to get your finger on the pulse of your existing audience, but don't count on them to be something that brings in new followers.
Oh, definitely not. So what can bring in new followers?
So bringing in new followers is primarily going to be your short form video content. That's what the platforms push out. They will always serve that to your existing audience. If it does well, they'll send it out to more people who aren't currently following you. And then Instagram recently introduced this feature called Trial Reels. And if you haven't heard of Trial Reels, you should look for it on your page. As you go to post a reel, there's usually a toggle switch now where you can say this is a trial reel or not. Essentially, if you click Trial Reel, it will not show that reel to any of your existing followers. It'll go out entirely to a non-follower audience to try to introduce you to more people and see what kind of content resonates with a completely new crowd. And so that can be a good way to bring new people under your umbrella. But when you do a trial reel, it should be representative of the type of content that you post. Because if you do a trial reel that's a trending sound or something like that, and it's very different from your usual content, you may notice that a bunch of people follow you off the trial reel, but then they'll see that, oh, this isn't the kind of content this person does. I'll probably end up unfollowing them.
And once you post that trial reel, where does it go?
So you can see it on your page, but it won't show up on your grid to anybody else. So it's just kind of out in the ether. It shows up on the For You page, the Explore page for other Instagram users, and just as a way to expose you to people who aren't currently following you.
And that's interesting because you can see the views then. So you can see how many non-followers and people actually saw it.
Yep. And you can see any new followers that you got from that specific reel.
Do you find that a good acquisition tactic?
As far as a good acquisition tactic, I have posted 3 or 4 trial reels at this point, and I would not say that we've gotten a ton of new followers from them. So I don't know yet. Again, I've only posted a few, so it may be too early to tell, but I haven't seen a big bump in new followers from the trial reels.
Could you post the same content twice? One as a trial and one to feed?
Yep. And that's essentially what we did is we took some of our high performing content and we posted them as a trial reel after they had been on my page for a couple of months. And we saw a lot of views. It definitely got served out to a lot of people, but we just didn't see a lot of conversion from that.
Interesting. And so we talked about views, we talked about acquisition, but what about this notorious word, engagement?
So engagement in 2025, I don't think that this is radically different from, 2024 or 2023. The platforms love to see that people are sharing your content with other people. So when you look at the sidebar, you see the number of likes, the number of comments, and the number of shares. Shares is a very valuable metric to the platforms. And then comments and then likes. Likes are nice, but they don't really do a whole lot for you. It's not like nobody comments on your reel, you get a bunch of likes, and Instagram is going to send that to more people because they want more people taking time to intentionally engage, not the lowest effort, which is just click the heart button. So a lot of people will value the comments and the shares. I think those are highly valuable, but then we can also start to use other tools. A lot of people are using these automation tools to serve links to people in their direct messages. Communities, you can form a little community on Instagram where people subscribe to you essentially, and you can send out messages directly to them. And I think those are newer ways to have engagement and grow your community and engage with them.
And what about broadcast channels?
Yeah, essentially like the communities, broadcast channels. These are people that take an extra step to opt in. They're already following you and they want more of your content. And so I think it's important if you're going to create a broadcast channel, you need to use it. You need to be on there at least weekly, giving them something. And it shouldn't just be a repost of your reel. It should be something unique and different where they feel like they're getting some extra value from it, where you're asking them questions as a poll. One person that I think does this really well is Dr. Dylan Greeny, and he surveys his audience frequently on what kind of content they'd like to see on YouTube. He notifies them when he's going live on different platforms, and he does a good job of offering something different in his broadcast channel.
And the other thing that's interesting is it goes right to people's DMs. So for those of you who don't know, it's a link in someone's bio that says, join my channel, and you click on it, and it's almost a whole other group of DMs. So the person or the creator can serve you content, and that content will go right to your inbox. So it's really a one-to-one, even though it's one-to-many conversation.
And they did roll out a feature where people can start to have conversations back. So you can reply to that and it shows up in a separate thread, kind of one level deeper in the broadcast channel. So you can get that engagement back and forth between the members of your broadcast channel.
And what about statuses? Because now those notes. So notes, like a status update, I think it's old school, kind of like AOL, like your away message. Not everybody had it. I didn't have it for the longest time. I think I literally just got it like a month ago. But it's really rolled out. You can also reply back. You can engage with it. So there's all these different ways in which that you can draw people in.
These statuses, I don't think are very high yield. I don't do them very often. And I think it's important to know your status is only seen by people that you follow that follow you back. There's a dermatologist that I'm friends with on Instagram, and they're always posting on their little status update what their newest reel is, like 3 ways to treat your acne. And I'm like, that doesn't do anything. I'm never going to go check out your profile to see what video you posted because I don't think that they know that the audience that sees that is not their audience of followers. It's primarily going to be other professionals.
The one thing I like about it is a lot of the people that I follow or my friends or the people that we're following will say when they're like in LA for the day or New York City. So it's like that little kind of ping or update that you can see where someone is. Otherwise, I see people do song lyrics. Not sure it necessarily has that kind of value.
I think that's probably the highest yield function. If you're using it to connect with friends when you're traveling to an area, or, you have just an important life event, almost like a Facebook status update back in the early days of Facebook, where you knew that the only people seeing it were your close Facebook friends, your family members, things like that. But it's certainly not a tactic for Instagram success, in my opinion.
So what would you say is the top tactic for Instagram success?
The top tactic is still going to be good content. I mean, there's no tip or trick that you can implement or hashtag or trial reel or anything. If your content is ultimately not resonating with people, you're not going to succeed on Instagram. Being comfortable in front of the camera, creating engaging content, being willing to try new things and see what resonates. But ultimately, it comes down to the content. I have been of the group that says, oh, the algorithm hates me. And I followed somebody and I once saw them say, before you blame the algorithm when your content isn't performing well, are you sure that you're not making crappy content?
You're sure it's not you? Look in the mirror.
Yeah.
I think that's very valid. I think we do like to blame outside influences on the performance or what's happening in the algorithm is always to blame, but it's true that right now people are drawn into storytellers. They're drawn into content that they can relate to, that I feel like, oh, you're talking to me. I want to hear more. I want to hear what you're doing. I want to see what you're doing. I want to hear about X, Y, and Z.
Yeah, it's showing that personal touch, getting people to know you to the degree that you're comfortable with. It doesn't mean you're posting your family or anything like that, but having a little bit of personal touch, engaging content that is authentic, that's not salesy, it's not ads all the time. It really shows who you are, the kind of personality that you might portray, like Michelle Henry talked about, that you would get when you came into the clinic to see her.
Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode. We hope you found something valuable that you can integrate into your Instagram strategy. We want to hear about it. Drop us a note on Instagram, shoot us a DM, and we can't wait to hear from you.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Med Creator 101. If you found this information helpful, be sure to leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast player you happen to be listening on, and share this information with a colleague who also is interested in growing on social media. We'll see you on the next episode.